Most students take the full 120 minutes while they are attempting any of the CLAT mocks, but still they end up rushing in the last 10 minutes. When I gave CLAT in 2021 and got an All India rank 17, I trained myself to complete all the CLAT mocks as well as the CLAT paper in 110 minutes. Because if you can complete a mock in 110 minutes, the real CLAT will feel much easier. You'll have time to properly fill in the OMR for last minute checks and you won't panic when things get tough. Let's see how to reach that point. First, we'll talk about why 110 minutes make the most sense. Practicing under 110 minutes teaches your mind to stay calm when the time is short. It also covers everything that usually eats the most time: nervousness, tricky passages, and filling the OMR in the actual CLAT center. So when you get these 10 minutes in the actual exam paper, it feels like a bonus. Now we'll talk about how to reach that point of solving a CLAT mock under 110 minutes. And for that, you need to first fix your section order. Pick an order that actually works for you and stick with it for the next 30 days of your CLAT preparation. Some students like to start with legal, some students prefer starting with reading comprehension, and some prefer CR. It's different for everyone. When I gave my paper in 2021, I stuck with the default setting. That is starting with English, moving on to GK, then covering legal, then moving on to CR, and at the end solving QT. What matters isn't the order itself. It's being consistent with the order that you choose for yourself. When your brain knows what's coming next, you stay calmer and move through the paper much faster. Next, you need to divide your time wisely. Here's a simple plan if you're aiming for 110 minutes. For example, let's say you start with reading comprehension. Spend 25 minutes on reading comprehension. Next, move on to GK. Spend 10 minutes on GK. Next, start with legal reasoning and spend 35 minutes on legal reasoning. So in the first 70 minutes of your paper, you are done with 3 important sections. Now, start with critical reasoning. Spend around 25 minutes on critical reasoning. So 70 plus 25, it takes you to 95 minutes. And then in the next 15 minutes, solve quants. So all in all, this takes 210 minutes. In these 110 minutes, you have completed all 5 sections, but you're still left with 10 minutes. In these last 10 minutes, spend time reviewing your answers, going back to any unanswered questions, and filling in your OMR very wisely. It's very important that you read with focus. You need to read actively and not passively. First, glance at the questions. Know what you're looking for. And after you know what you're looking for, read with intent. This saves around 8 to 10 minutes across the paper. Your accuracy goes up because now you're not overreading. Now, how do you go about practicing this? When you're giving a CLAT mock, use a timer that is for 110 minutes and not 120. And make sure that the mock you are giving actually replicates the CLAT level in terms of difficulty, passage length, and timing. Disregard the mocks that are either way too easy or way too difficult. The goal is to build comfort under pressure so that on actual exam day, you feel ahead of time and not behind it. Next, I'll be talking about the mistakes that steal time and those you need to avoid under any circumstances. And these mistakes are: number 1, spending 2 to 3 minutes on just one single question. Number 2, reading RCs too slowly. Number 3, switching sections midway. Do not ever do that. If you have started with a section, complete it in its entirety. And lastly, and most important, leaving OMR for the entire end. Do not have to leave the OMR, all 120 questions, for the last 10 minutes. You need to solve passage after passage, and this is the advice that I followed when I gave CLAT. If you avoid these habits, you'll see yourself naturally completing the paper ahead of time. So lastly, finishing the paper in 110 minutes isn't just about speed, it's about staying in control of the entire process. Once you practice this, I can assure you that the real CLAT will actually feel very easier and very calmer. Keep solving mocks that replicate the actual CLAT pattern. If you're still looking for mocks that are similar to CLAT in terms of difficulty and everything else, you can consider checking out NLTI mock test series.